Hey, a quirky little indie animation pilot. I wonder... Oh, this again. Well, screw it. I miss the Homestuck fandom drama days. Might as well enjoy the flash in a pan version of that. Okay, so yeah, this pilot has sort of speedrun the hell of a boss and Undertale effect, getting insanely popular and then getting in trouble for daring to be that popular in the first place. But to be honest, most of the anti-popularity backlash I've seen for this show is fixated on the character design and guesses as to what the show is or who it's meant to be pandering to, not actually like critique coming from video that have actually, you know, watched the show. Wait, didn't I just talk about people making takes about a show they hadn't watched? Right, that, yeah. God, I hope the thumbnail for this video is less contentious. Live and learn, Mal. Anyway, past mess ups aside, what is there to say about this phenomenon? Fuck! I hate that word so much. Ah! What is there to say about this phenomenon? Phenomenon. Fuck, you know what, the more I say it, the less this word sounds like a word and sounds like I'm just stroking out. So, yep, you know what I'm at? Fuck it, phenomenon. No more takes, that's the best we're getting. Well, simply put, it's old hat. Tired and hobbling along like a thoroughly beaten old horse. People hating things that become popular, especially if that thing dares to become popular quickly or appeal to teenagers, and God save you if you appeal to teenage girls, the internet will just tear you to shreds like it's their day job. It's a well-documented phenomenon. I put the word in there twice in like one paragraph. I hate myself. The internet was right, I'm a masochist. From the days of Justin Bieber and Twilight to Undertale and Five Nights at Freddy's, there's always a sizable counter-movement to sudden extreme or fanatical fandom. And as much as I love Connie...
I don't know, I think it's more fun if he knows...
Contrarian! Oh, we have a different one this time. Hello. We're gonna call you Connie.
Mali, you broke the world.
Again.
Do you need me to describe things?
Please don't in this instance.
That'd be nice. A little comfort in an
Wait, Connie?
almost unfamiliar place.
Connie!
Oh, you made it here too?
My man! Watch my Twitch if you give a shit about that reference. By and large, contrarians of this nature make me chortle like an elderly woman watching kids trip over from her porch. The same way I roll my eyes and condescend towards the edgy crowd online that act as though having a genuine moment or emotional intelligence would strip them of all that carefully layered armor of cynicism, I roll my eyes a bit at the reaction to Digital Circus. Now, don't get me wrong, I've seen a couple of nice videos floating around that do talk about their critiques of the pilot as well as what they liked about it, namely Sarcastic Chorus and to some extent Cartoonchi, although Cartoonchi's video focused much more on the fandom and the counterculture fandom that popped up around it so quickly. Trust and believe, I have no doubt that the fandom will be cringe as fuck, but that's just par for the course with these things and shouldn't reflect on the show itself. If you want a bit more of an in-depth look at that side of things, I'll just direct you to Cartoonchi's way. I mean, I direct you his way regardless, it's good shit over there, go and give it a watch. And a cheeky sub maybe. Tell him his hair looks nice in his avatar today, I don't know, be nice. But as for us over here, I want to talk about the show itself without getting too bogged down in the counterculture hatedom that formed for this thing seemingly overnight. They haven't even given the kids the chance to reach their full cringe potential before pouncing. At least let them start doing awkward kinship TikToks or begin morality wars on Twitter over shipping fictional adults before you... Ah, okay, we've already gotten there. God, you little shits work fast. So, with all of that said, do I even like the pilot? It was aight. Alright, let me explain that lukewarm glass of lactose-free milk on a summer's day take. As a standalone episode of a show, I would rank it pretty low, actually. There's issues with pacing and dialogue that I simply can't move past, and it makes the rewatch experience a little more tedious than I would like, so for me, it probably lingers around a solid 5 or 6 out of 10, you know, if you want numbers like a massive nerd. Is it scary? No. Is it funny? Yeah, I'd say so. I had a little chortle a couple of times. But overall, is it something to write home about? Not really. I'm not going to be telling my grandkiddies about it when I'm withered and spouting questionable things from my porch rocking chair, is all I'm saying. But as a pilot, oh, this thing just oozes with potential. I have now said the word oozes out loud a few times, and I regret adding this word to my vocabulary. I feel as though oozes... We're just gonna keep it moving. I haven't watched a pilot that has made me this optimistic or interested in a property for a long, long time. There is one I have in my back pocket I might talk about later, but shh, videos for another day. When I think about the current poster child for animated online series, Hell of a Boss, and to some extent Has Been Hotel, and I think about their pilots, I don't get the same manic curiosity that I get with Digital Circus. Their pilots are good and fun, and to a certain extent I would consider them to be better episodes of media than Digital Circus pilot is, but as pilots, the Circus just blows them out of the park. So while I might rate the overall episodes of Has Been and Hell of a higher than Circus, as pilot, Circus wins hands down. It does its job as a pilot very well. Let me give you my praises for this pilot before I put on my wet blanket for criticism. Digital Circus has the rare honor of actually grabbing my attention before the title credits even finish. In fact, this actually might turn out to be a criticism, but bear with me here. So, Digital Circus had me by the throat before 2 seconds had passed and didn't quite get me back that way for the rest of the pilot. You know what, now that I've said it out loud, it does sound like a criticism, but please allow me to explain how I got so pumped by a title screen. Because, oh sweet Jesus, the opening screen just kicked me harder in the nostalgia balls than any analog horror could even dream to. FNAF over there salivating enviously over how quickly the circus injected itself into the squishy grey matter part of my brain that had me loosening my wallet. You see, I was never really part of the world where animatronics were like, a thing. I'm not even sure we did that in Australia. If not, good. You freaks across the way can keep that export to yourselves. We're still not done dealing with the cane toads, foxes, rabbits, and reality TV infestations you ported over last time. In a similar vein, nor was I really that invested during the golden age of VHS. Look, I know I'm old as dust in internet terms, but I'm not quite that old. Yes, we had VHS for most of my childhood. I even have memories of seeing a couple of home videos on VHS as well, but even then they were being aged out by digital media. By the time I was in primary school, we were already getting into DVDs, digital camcorders, and mobile phones. Granted, they were flip phones, which were cool. Fucking fight me on Maine, flip phone supremacy. None of that bendable glass shit either. You keep that witchcraft away from me. Maybe I am old. Oh god. Right, topic Mal, get back to it. So while I did come from the age of VHS, it doesn't have the same stranglehold on my nostalgia psyche as it might for some people that are just a little bit older than me. If anything, it's more of a fond, hazy memory than anything horror can be sapped from. Which is why a lot of analog horror and ARGs that draw from the 90s to early 2000s for its horror tends to miss me just a bit. For people younger than me, it's the scares of a time before them, something they can look back on into the past and ogle at. And for people a little bit older than me, it's a huge part of their lives for quite a while. I exist in that weird no man's land where it just doesn't quite hit home. But this weird CD-ROM looking ass game opening, it reminds me of Putt-Putt and Freddy Fish and Numbers Up games on those educational web browser sites. It reminds me of those weird nightmarish Monopoly CDs that got given out with Happy Meals. I know it's probably more meant to be invoking the Nintendo 64 era for most people, and it was likely even meant to resemble that, or those silly kids educational shows that used to run in the morning, but well, I didn't have the coin for 64 games as a kid, so Happy Meal CDs and free web games it was. It hits at this weirdly specific childhood miasma I didn't even know had been neglected. It's the type of horror I'd want to invoke if I ever made that style of content, which, trust you me, I fucking will one day. It's the late nights spent on MSN Messenger or playing weird CD games that came from the Sunday newspaper, and it's just wonderful. So yeah, 5 seconds in, they have me by the fucking throat. Unfortunately, literally a second later, it polishes up into smooth 3D, and I can't lie and tell you it didn't greatly sadden me my first viewing. But hey, it's given allusions to that old style that I adore, while clearly moving forward to a delivery that a more general audience will accept. So I can give it a bit of a pass and hope that maybe it taps back into that old school feeling the opening gave me. And for what it's worth, the 3D is very good. The animation on Kane alone is enough to make me sit back in my seat just a bit and take a second to breathe because fuck! I remember my 3D animation assignments and trying to imagine doing that much animation with that odd of a rig just gives me the weirdest secondhand anxiety. And of course, I wouldn't be doing my civic duty if I didn't take the time to note that Glitch Productions is an Australian-based company. Fuck yeah! I'm sorry. Let me have this. I love it. I love it so much. I probably sent an application to them at some point. Oof. Sorry about that, guys. I hope you didn't get it. On the note of Kane, circling back to the actual point, my first impression of the characters was, no shocker, I love them. I do sort of have that vague disappointment that the main character Pomni is so generically cute when compared to the supporting cast. That's less of a complaint specific to the show and more animation in general. The side cast in anime and cartoons tend to get a lot more leeway on being creatively cool or interesting looking, while the main leads tend to be more carefully polished to be more cute or pretty or handsome. That's definitely on display here, but like, god fucking damn it, I love Pomni's design anyway, so they got me. I'm the sucker they designed the cute lead for. They goddamn got me. I just can't stop staring at her Resident Evil looking ass eyes. But designs aside, the characters all neatly slot into archetypes we've seen before, which makes the pilot easier to pick up. Some people might view that as a negative, given that the character types are so familiar to us, but as a pilot, they have to get as much information and groundwork down in a short amount of time as possible, so I have no gripes with it here. It helps that every single voice actor in the cast is giving it their all, and I'm just convinced that the show hinges on the back of the voice actors and animators. So, you know, treat them well.
Why are you like this?
Adding that to my reaction clip collection, yes, yes.
Ow! You parasite!
Adding that to my reaction clip collection, yes, yes. Now, I understand some of the anti-fandom around this show revolves around it supposedly being Tumblr bait or made for the internet crowd, and all I have to say to that is, good. Feed me more trash. You think I care about highbrow media? Bitch, I've sat through the Godfather trilogy, and let me tell you, I'd rather watch this weird teeth man scream in a bubble than rewatch those movies. I don't care that they're award-winning historic films, I just want to see the funny man. My point with that is that not all media has to be made for the refined palate. Not everything is out here trying to get into the Oscars. Not that the Oscars actually mean fucking anything. Sometimes you want to watch The Godfather, and sometimes you want to watch Michael Bay's Transformers, and sometimes you want to watch the funny existential clown have a breakdown. It just be like that. It's not that deep. And scoffing at something for being designed for any audience that isn't you specifically is sort of, you know, what's the word I'm looking for here? That's right, cringe. Speaking of cringe, there's been some debate on who the Tumblr sexy man of this show is. Jax or Kane seem to be the forerunners, but guys, Kinger is literally a chess piece in a royal robe. Stop being distracted by his eyes and everything else about him. Come on, when has Tumblr sexy man ever had anything to do with depth? Bill is an isosceles prick, for God's sake. We can work with the chess piece. Anyway, weird personal hill I will put roots down on a side. Let's get back to the show, because now we're at the part of the video where I have some criticism and personal pet peeves to go over. I realize that my praise of the show was also interlaced with criticism, but fuck you, it's my video, I'll do what I want. First of all, this scene was surprisingly brutal. I like that. But it does lead into the most difficult part of the pilot for me to watch, or rather to listen to. I'm not a huge fan of the glitching effect and some of the audio choices made in this pilot. In theory, I like it. You know, if you've been here for a little while, you know I am a slut for glitch effects. But the delivery here is just a bit too much. It's a bit too distracting. I understand to some extent it's meant to be that way on account of Ragatha getting her shit absolutely kicked in, and the glitching highlights the pain that she's in, but for an audience member, when you're watching a show, you don't actually want to be physically in pain while watching it. The glitch effect here is distracting, grating, and just overall very unpleasant. In my rewatches, I tend to just skip over wherever there's glitch speaking. Same with Slug Queen over here. The audio design work on their voice is just a bit too much. I say that as someone who is guilty of overdoing it on the reverb and distortion of my own glitch characters. It's sometimes hard to notice how annoying or unintelligible these effects are when you already know the script or are the one saying it. So I understand how this happens, but hopefully in the future they'll dial it back to the point it's not aggravating to sit through. Fast forwarding a bit and oh, we're in the Stanley Parable now. Good. While Pomni has a breakdown in the background, let me talk about another problem I have with this episode that if it were not a pilot, I would harp on much harder. I feel like Pomni from the start was too immediately horrified by the situation. Before the introduction has even stopped rolling, she's freaking out about how she's there and why she's there, which I find to be very odd considering she knowingly put the headset on. Even if this world was more than what she was expecting, to some extent she would have been expecting something to happen after putting the headset on, right? I mean, I have to assume she put it on with some expectation. To what extent, I don't know, but still, she put it on. So her immediate panic and efforts to get free feels very rushed and a bit unnecessary. Maybe also just a tad annoying. God bless the voice actors though, they make everything bearable. On top of that, I feel like it would have been more interesting to see Pomni beginning the story excited and maybe a bit starstruck by the virtual world she was in. I am purely writing fanfiction at this point, but bear with me. Imagine if Pomni was, even if a bit hesitant or nervous, excited by the new world, with the rest of the cast knowing that just would not last. Jax no doubt would be cracking sly jokes going over Pomni's head, and Ragatha would cautiously and gently be trying to ease Pomni into the reality of their situation. Then, naturally, there is the eventual panic when she realizes that this is, in fact, permanent. After that, you can more or less have the exact same introductory scene of Pomni trying to yank the headset off, and really the episode could continue more or less unchanged from that point. And as you may be able to tell by that, I boil this down to a pacing problem and the fact that this is a pilot episode. So they more or less have to speed run the setting, characters, and central themes. If this was the actual first episode, I would go in with a finer tooth comb and nitpick, but as a pilot, we can give it a bit more leeway. And hey, maybe you disagree with me. Maybe you think the immediate freakout is earned and bypasses the reveal. Maybe you don't like that type of slow burn, I don't know. I am just one idiot on the internet with an opinion. We all have them, and unfortunately, we all keep sharing them. Welcome to the show.
Ladies first. No, wait, why would I say that?
Oranges has informed me this will be him at VidCon next year. So, you know, I just wanted this to be put in here so that if I die in a tragic escalator incident, you know who to look for. Now, if you'd allow me to do some gazing into my crystal ball here, I'd like to share some potential problems I can see the show encountering going forward. Going off the pilot of the show, it seems like, at least to begin with, the show is going to be a lot of these characters in this same environment, maybe exploring the other places in the world Kane briefly showed Pomni on the tour, and while that will definitely work for a while, it runs the risk of becoming stale very quickly. If we're left with just this environment and these characters for too long with the goal of escaping, no matter how good the voice acting and animation is, we run the chance of getting the same sort of stir-crazy as Pomni. So far, all the characters have been interesting and fun to watch, but I don't see that remaining the case for too many episodes in unless new elements are introduced. If they spend every episode Gilligan's Island style with failed escape attempts, it's gonna become a bit of a chore to watch. But I say that all believing and hoping the show just won't do that. The internet has already started tearing apart every frame of this fucking thing for their game theories, which I love, and I hope some of their guesses around the deeper character motivations prove correct. Look, I'm down to watch Jax have a character arc is all I'm saying. But I am getting all in my own head over a show that hasn't even released its first official episode yet and hasn't even been out for a month. So for now, all we can do is watch and see how it unfolds. I have high hopes for this one, and that's worth noting because my heart shriveled up and died a long time ago. And with that, I've run out of complaints I care enough to talk about, which means it's time for me to sell the fuck out. Leave me your essays in the comments, tell me about your niche fan theories, that's definitely better than whatever Matt Pat will put together. Tell me why Jax is actually the superior Tumblr sexy man candidate. Hell, you can even leave me your weirdly personally offended remarks as to why the existence of this show is an affront to your sensibilities. I will probably just laugh at those, but I promise I will still read them and laugh harder. And you know, all that YouTuber stuff, like, subscribe buttons, selling your soul to me, all that jazz that's in the fine print. With that, I'm out. Take care of yourselves, my guys.
You know, I was having so much trouble figuring out what to put on the other side and ended up never quite finishing it. And you know how I never like letting people see my unfinished work, especially if it leads you out into the void.
Oh my god, Kane, me for real for real?